Big man, come and say that right here.
Come and say it right where? Here.
All right. Nice.
Chill out.
I don't do anything. I'm not violent.
Go ahead.
Gentlemen.
Here it's
Do it.
All right.
I'm saying I have an answer.
Sit down. Sit down.
Okay, I'll sit down. You said
Sit
that
down.
to come over there and say it. I'm
Yeah.
not violent. I would never do anything.
You can't
violent.
respond to any point. You just make a joke.
I can't respond to any
So
point
you
'cause
do
won't-
believe.
So yeah, debates are fun, right? Debates are fun. Gotta admit that's fun. I mean, that was almost a fist fight. But we're not here to watch a fist fight of a debate. Almost fist fight from a debate to a fist fight. We're not here to watch that. Okay, we actually are here to talk about the well from hell. That's right.
During that time, Russia began the race to be the first to reach the center of the Earth. However, what they supposedly found made them abandon this project and weld up their discovery never to be opened again. Before we investigate the rumors and listen to the rather terrifying recording, let's first deal with the concrete facts.
So yeah, this is Off the Curb Ministries. This dude has 1.93 million subscribers. He is massive. And he is just not too great at checking facts. Let's just say that. So I am Brentley, and this is the Punk Apostate. Let's go. So yeah, this is this Off the Curb Ministries guy. He is all about just the most crazy conspiracy stuff you can think of. I've seen him talk. Everything is the mark of the beast. Everything is, the world is ending. Everything is demons. So it was not surprising to hear him talk about the well to hell, which is an urban legend that's been around for a long time, and we're going to get into it. But let's go ahead and give this video a watch here for a bit.
If you go on Google Earth and you type in the Kohler borehole, you'll be surprised to know that hidden beneath this derelict building site is the world's deepest hole. Underneath the rubble is a rusted pizza-sized disc bolted to the earth. And it is here that Russian scientists quite literally left their mark on the world. In 1970, during a period of scientific rivalry between the superpowers, there were countries that were seeking to make the craziest discoveries in technology, space, and Earth. During that time, Russia began the race to be the first to reach the center of the Earth. However, what they supposedly found made them abandon this project and weld up their discovery never to be opened again. Before we
This dude is so intense. He is so oddly intense. It sounds ridiculous.
investigate the rumors and listen to the rather terrifying recording, let's first deal with the concrete facts. This hole took 24 years to dig, and at 7.5 miles deep, it invades 1/3 of the Earth's crust. It's so deep that if the unthinkable should happen and you accidentally would fall down that hole, it would take you 3 minutes before you hit the bottom. But don't panic too much, because the likelihood of this happening is nearly impossible, as it's only 23 centimeters wide, about the size of the average shoe. But here's the crazy part. Apparently, as the drill broke through a hollow area of the Earth's crust, it malfunctioned. So they pulled it back up to the surface, and it was glowing a sort of red-hot colour. While all of this was happening,
and it was blowing glass, I guess. It was glowing and blowing glass. It was glowing and blowing, as we like to say here on the show.
Scientists could hear the faintest sounds of screams. So what did they do? They decided to lower a state-of-the-art microphone down the hole. This microphone could withstand very hot temperatures, but get this, it melted after 17 seconds. It was actually long enough for them to capture something, and what they did capture made half the team quit right away on the spot. Before we listen to this recording, I do need to give you 2 warnings. The first one is this: truth is very important to me on this YouTube.
I'm sorry. That's just a really fun. That was a good joke. That was a funny joke. Wait, is he oh wait, he looks like he's like he's being serious.
YouTube channel. So we do actually need to discuss whether these recordings are legit or not. And number two, I want you to know that the first time I listened to this recording, it did actually scare me. And I'm not easily troubled. So for some of you, I'm not saying this for dramatic effect, but for some of you, it might be wise for you to skip this part of the video.
And then it plays immediately. I love it. Like, you might want to skip this video. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. You're scared? They scared him. Got him.
So, what do you think? Do you think the recording is legit? Well, there's more. As the melted microphone ascended to the surface, so did a plume of smoke, and out of this black cloud emerged a large bat-like creature with the words, "I have conquered," on the wings.
Whoa.
In 1989, another...
Why it said, "I have conquered" on the wings? He's got, what, like a tattoo? Like demons get tattoos up there or down there or over there? I don't know.
detail from this story came out into the public, as apparently a member of the team snitched on the others, claiming that they were not drilling for scientific purposes, but instead they were searching for hell. He claimed...
So this one of the workers there was like, "Look, I know the real deal, y'all. We're not trying to drill a hole just for scientific discovery or anything. We're trying to find hell. Okay, that's what we're, obviously, you're not going to get a grant just to dig a hole to nowhere. You got to be like, hey, we want to dig a hole to hell." And everybody's like, throw money at them. Throw money at them.
That initially on another unrelated project, the Russians had accidentally discovered it in Serbia, and so they wanted to explore this even further. But whatever the truth is, there's one thing we can be certain of. Ever since then, this hole has been famously called the well to hell.
Ooh. All right, so let's take a look at the actual evidence now that we've kind of got an idea of what at least this guy's rendition of this particular hoax is, or this urban legend. That's what it really is. I found a couple different debunkings of this, but this one seemed to have everything in one place. So I was like, this is where we're going with. So it is skeptoid.com. If you ever want to just go peruse some debunking of things, check out the Skeptoid. It's awesome. All right. So the Siberian hell sounds. Russian scientists are said to have drilled a borehole that broke into hell and released the screams of the damned. There's one urban legend in particular that creeps out a lot of people. The story goes that sometime in 1989, Russian scientists in Siberia had drilled a borehole some 14.5 kilometers deep into the Earth's crust. The drill broke through into a cavity, and the scientists lowered some equipment to see what was down there. The temperature was about 1100 Celsius, about 2000 Fahrenheit. But the real shocker was the sound was recorded. They got only about 17 seconds of audio before the microphone melted. You're going to see that the claims are kind of different. So we have to make sure we're sticking together. That's really when something's going to go horribly wrong, when the person that makes the video doesn't even get the claim right, doesn't even get the urban legend right. It was 17 horrifying seconds of the screams of the damned. Intense stuff. Convinced that they'd heard the sounds of hell, many of the scientists quit the job site immediately. So the story goes. Those who stayed were in for an even bigger shock later that night. A plume of luminous gas burst out of the borehole. The shape of a gigantic winged demon unfolded, and the words "I have conquered" in Russian were seared into the flames. See, so they said it was on the back, but this one says it was written in the flames. So it's interesting how these things change. Beginning in 1989, the tale was broadly reprinted in smaller Christian publications, newsletters, and the such, but was given hardly any notice by the mainstream media. Some evangelicals and biblical literalists cited the incident as proof of the existence of a physical hell, an interpretation that seemed to be the consensus among the publications that ran the story. By now, the internet is saturated with at least as many claims that either the audio or the story is false as there are supporting it as fact. The story's first appearance was in 1989, with its first large-scale publication by the Trinity Broadcasting Network. This Christian network has television shows in addition to a print newsletter, and they ran the story entitled Scientists Discover Hell. That's so stupid sounding. Scientists discover hell. Yeah, that's what they did. In both their broadcast and print editions in late 1989. Short thereafter, they ran an expanded version of the story that included the newly reported detail of the devilish apparition coming up out of the borehole. But not everyone was on board. The first most obvious fact was that there was no such borehole in Siberia. The Kola borehole is about as far from Siberia as you can get and still be in Russia. To the Soviets, deep holes are not simply tools for testing geological theory. They expect more. One additional payoff is improved drilling technology. Another is insight into the deepest strata beneath known mineral resources. And there is always the allure of the Sputnik effect, the glory of having the deepest hole in the world. And if you want the deepest hole in the world, just go to adamandeve.com, enter code word Brentley, and you can have some fun with that deep hole. You can do a lot of stuff with it. There's a lot. You've got multiple holes, really, that you can play with. Go to adamandeve.com, enter code word Brentley. That's BRENTLY at checkout to get 50% off almost any one item. 3 free gifts, 6 free movies, and free shipping on the whole order. Just go to adamandeve.com, enter code word Brentley. That's BRENTLY at checkout. The packaging is also discreet. As disappointing as that is, I know. Everybody wants everybody to know when they're buying cool sex stuff, but they made sure that just in case there's somebody in your house that doesn't know you're having sex, you got make sure that it's discreet there. But go to adamandeve.com, enter code word Brentley to get your exclusive offer. You can't say deep hole and then just anyway. So, and some competing Christian newsletters were more skeptical. Oh wow, noting not only the factual errors in the story, but also Trinity Broadcasting Network's lack of verifiable sources for their story. Now, all this happened without anyone ever hearing the alleged audio recording. It wasn't until 12 years later, in 2002, after the story had come and gone at least twice more in various tabloids, and a correspondent to Art Bell's program called Coast to Coast. I don't know if you're familiar with Coast to Coast, okay? But it's it's probably the most famous conspiracy-filled show of all time. Just he has like the original Alex Jones. If Alex Jones was just talking about alien stuff, alien ghosts, all that type of stuff. AM emailed in an audio recording the accompanying letter read as follows. I just recently began listening to your radio show and could not believe it when you talked about the sounds from hell tonight. My uncle had told me this story a couple years ago, and I didn't believe him. Like one of your listeners who discounted the story as nothing more than just a religious newspaper fabricated account, the story about the digging, the hearing of the sounds from hell, is very real. It did occur in Siberia. See, and he got he's saying the Siberia one, right? My uncle collected videos on the paranormal and supernatural. He passed away fairly recently. He let me listen to one of the audio tapes that he had on the sounds from hell in Siberia, and I copied it. He received his copy from a friend who worked at the BBC. Attached is that sound from my uncle's tapes. Bell then played the recording, and ever since then, it's been widely circulated to this day. The story is still reported from time to time, Now, with the supporting sound, it's become a firmly established urban legend. As we can see, that's exactly what happened on our video here of Off the Curb Ministries, reporting it like it's a fact and playing the audio recording right next to it. Now, he did say that there are people that are skeptical of it, and he's kind of like, I'm just presenting the facts, but he already got one of the facts wrong, was that it was reported in Siberia and that it was actually in Russia. Now he's making it seem like he just took that mistake out, but that obviously is a mistake because that's what was reported on the Art Bell show where he got the audio from. But is it true? Not according to Rich Buller, who was a radio host for Christianity Today in 1990 and who wrote the debunking article mentioned a moment ago. So even the Christian article people are like, come on, this is stupid. Don't believe this stuff. This is silly. People had been calling into his show asking about the Trinity Broadcast Network story, so Buller and his staff did some digging. They worked backwards and followed all the threads they could to try and find whether there was a reliable original source. Here's what they found. TBN had said on the air that their source was a Finnish newspaper, which they described as a respectful journal. An evangelical minister in Texas, R.W. Shambach, had come across it and sent it to TBN. It turns out that respected source was not a scientific journal at all, but was a small evangelical Lutheran magazine that was published in Finland between 1974 and 1989. When Buller contacted them to ask about the story, they reported that a staff member had written it from memory, having read the story in the Daily Finnish newspaper called, I can't say that word, in a section that was for readers to contribute to anything they liked without verification. So this is all reported based on something that was not verified at all. The reader had seen it in a Finnish paranormal newsletter called, I can't say that word, Valtajat. Butler contacted that source, who reported that the story came from a reader who claimed to have seen it in a California newsletter published by Jewish Christians called Jewels of Jericho. Nobody was ever able to track down Jewels of Jericho or verify its existence. So the trail went cold. I'm amazed that Buller was able to follow the trail as far as he did. The whole chain was made of broken links, stories retold from memory, unverified sources, no editorial scrutiny whatsoever. It is a nearly perfect example of a story without a solid foundation. So if we can't verify any part of the story, where did that audio recording come from? It turns out that there is a popular explanation for it. Many internet sites assert that it is a looped and layered version of this audio clip from the really terrible 1972 movie, Barren Blood. There's at least one really good YouTube video where a guy plays back, and they have it sourced here, where the guy plays back selected samples from the Well to Hell audio, proving that it is indeed looped.
Today we're going to be debunking the Sounds from Hell audio file that's been circulating around the web. The story originates supposedly in Siberia, where they were drilling and they get a few miles down, they hit a cavity, they lower a heat-resistant microphone down, and they hear horrible wailing sounds, supposedly to be the damned burning in torment. I'd like to start off by saying that I'm a Christian. I had a near-death experience in which I saw hell. I very much believe and know that hell is real. However, this story is not. The sound file is from a movie called Barren Blood. Let's give a listen to the Sounds from Hell audio file.
Scary stuff.
recorded screams in the Baron's day were real.
Okay, now let us look at the sounds from hell audio file. See if it tells us anything. Alright, a casual glance at this should tell you a couple of things. It is very uniform. It looks to me like it has been layered several times and looped. There's a segment here that stands out. Let's give it a listen. Go to the next segment that looks similar and give it a listen. Alright, let's ping pong them, see if they sound the same. There's one thing I hate about people in hell, it's that they seem to be very repetitive. Let's hear some more.
As you can see, he went through and figured out that it was layered and then also looped. So that's basically what he just figured out there. And you can kind of see how he did it. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but just gives you an idea how he did it. Without any doubt, the Well to Hell audio played on the Art Bell show was created digitally by somebody looping and further processing some screaming sounds with a lot of background noise. That sound file, the only one known to exist from this story, is a hoax. There are zillions of recordings of screams and shouts and crowd noises for the hoaxer to have chosen from. Whether or not he used Baron blood is moot. Doesn't really matter. There's so many, I mean, it would be nice if we could point to the exact one, and be like, look, this is the exact thing. It's from Moot. But you don't even really need to do that to be able to tell that the audio was clearly messed with. Further elements of the story have also been proven to be a hoax. In 1989, Norwegian teacher Age Randalen heard the original TBN broadcast while he was visiting California. This is hilarious. Just check this out. I love this. This guy's like my hero. Shocked at how gullible Americans were, he wanted to see how far it could be taken. He returned home, clipped a Norwegian newspaper article about a building inspector, and sent it to TBN along with a fake translation that added the new element of the figure of the devil coming up out of the borehole. Rendelin identified the photo of the building inspector as Dr. Dmitry Azkov. Various spellings have been given, whom TBN had reported was the lead scientist of the project. TBN rebroadcast these startling new story elements without even bothering to do their own translation. So they didn't even bother to translate the article. They just read it and were like, oh, so a demon came up out of the borehole too. Cool. Print it. Run it. Go. Rich Buller tracked down Rendelin, who happily admitted it as a hoax. And all the details were laid out in the October 1990 issue of the Secular Humanist Bulletin newsletter. And yet the story continued to persist. The tabloid Weekly World News ran the story on April 7th, 1992, but moved into Alaska and added yet another new element of 13 workers being killed. So they didn't just quit. They got killed this time, yeah. When the devil came flaming up out of the hole. 16 years later, on October 2nd, 2008, they ran it again on their online edition, changed it to an oil well, and added quotes from then Governor Sarah Palin and Vice President candidate Joe Biden. In a subtle touch proving the tongue-in-cheek nature of their article, they located the site 400 miles north of Fairbanks, Alaska, which to anyone with a map places it squarely underwater in the Bayport Sea. So while we're able to prove that everything added to the original TBN story is a hoax, including the audio, all we can say about the original TBN story is that it was very poorly sourced and based on second and third hand accounts, including personal recollections. So it's always fun to see how these urban legends can just sort of come together, and just keep adding details and stuff that are insane. And it's crazy that nobody would go back and check this sort of thing. Well, let's get back to this guy and see what he has to say about this whole thing.
Between you and me, there is actually another side to this story. A Norwegian gentleman wanted to play a prank on Christians to prove that they are not only born again, but they're also born yesterday. So what he did is he emailed a
I love that. That's a nice little zinger there.
recording from a 1972 vintage movie called Barren Blood, and he gave it to a Christian TV station called TBN.
So, okay, he's already getting this story completely wrong. He's explaining how it's debunked, but he's getting it wrong. The guy added the whole element of the demon coming up. He did not present the audio. He didn't take it from Barren Blood. He said he didn't do any of that stuff. He just added the whole element of the luminous gas coming up and spelling out those words and the shape of the devil and everything. So he's not even getting these details right. It's amazing.
And he waited to see how many gullible Christians would eat it up. Sure enough, in 1989, TBN aired a show, Scientists Discovered Hell. And their story made not just waves in the Christian world, but also in the newspapers. And
See, and it said Siberia, too, in that one. So it's
even Art Bell's rather curious show, 10 years later, made an episode about it
and that's where the audio file comes from.
1998. But guys, people are still massively divided on whether these recordings are legit, because they believe that the recordings at the Kohler borehole are completely different to the recordings in the film Barren Blood.
They are, but that doesn't matter because the audio is clearly messed with in ways that kind of demonstrate that it is a hoax.
I genuinely want to know, what do you think about this? Do you think that it's utter nonsense? Or do you think that
Utter nonsense, yes. So this guy is just all over the place. It's so funny to see how he maps these things out, because he's the most gullible person ever. I mean, it was interesting how he tried to at least act like he's being skeptical, but he even got his corrections incorrect, which should tell you everything you need to know about this guy. So thanks so much for hanging out, y'all. If you want to support the show, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. The easiest is immediately. If you want to like and subscribe, that always helps big time. If you want to share the show around with your friends, that would be a huge help as well. But and if you want to help financially, there's a couple ways you can do that in the show notes. Most notably and easily is a one-time payment through Cash App. And my cash tag is all one word, Punk Apostate. And it's real easy to do. And I really appreciate it because times have gotten pretty tough down here in Florida lately. But I want to make sure to say thank you to everybody for hanging out. We always have a great time. The most important thing is to stay logical, loving, skeptical, and compassionate. And we will see you next time.